Okay, so in our demo class, what I was telling you is, I was talking about the differences between normal ABAP applications and WebdynPro ABAP applications. So I was talking about the differences. So the main difference is, in normal ABAP, we make use of module pool applications. So, but instead of module pool, in WebdynPro point of view, we make use of web applications here. And moreover, in normal ABAP, we used to develop something like ABAP reports. But in WebdynPro point of view, we are going to access and we are going to design web-based reports. And in ABAP point of view, we try to develop something like smart forms for printing purpose. But in WebdynPro, we purely use Adobe Forms concept for printing purpose. So whatever we do in normal ABAP, the same thing is applicable in WebdynPro. But the only difference is WebdynPro ABAP provides totally a web-based facility. And that is nothing but it's a browser-based facility. So users can access directly through browser from internet. That is a main advantage. So I mean to say, your WebdynPro ABAP supports all three features here. You can access WebdynPro applications through internet. You can access WebdynPro through intranet, as well as you can access WebdynPro applications through mobile devices. But in our normal ABAP applications are purely SAP GUI applications. So I mean to say, these GUI-based applications are accessible only through intranet. It supports mainly intranet, but WebdynPro supports all three features: internet, intranet, and mobile devices. So this is a main difference between our normal ABAP and WebdynPro ABAP applications. But ultimately, we design the same type of applications, but screens are different, coding is different. Hi Sunil. Hi Sunil, can you hear my voice and can you see my screen? Shankil,
Yeah.
can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see.
Is my audio clearly clearly?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, clear, sir.
Absolutely
okay,
clear.
fine. Okay. Just for confirmation, I'm asking. Okay, let me proceed further. So, in WebdynPro point of view, we are going to develop WebdynPro ABAP applications. I mean to say, in one WebdynPro project, we are going to combine components. Component is like one program. You can create component 1, component 2. You can create component 3. So it's like collection of components. One single project, you can create one or many components. And you can assume one program is like one component here. It's like one program. Program 1, like program 2. So it's like that. Component is nothing but like program. So, but when we create a component, here, every component has 5 controllers. So total WebdynPro depends on these 5 controllers. So one of the controller is component controller. Every component has these things. And moreover, there will be one more controller like interface controller. and then you'll be having a custom controller, then window controller, and you can create something like a view controller. So these are the 5 types of controllers every component will have. But let us understand what exactly is controller. So according to our programs, I can say controller is nothing but it contains one context here. And the main purpose of context is like to store the data. That means it's a storage purpose. We use controller along with context. And inside the context, what we can do is we can create many nodes and attributes here. We can create several nodes and attributes, but one controller contains only one context. Just remember that. So, and I can say the node is nothing but it's like internal table. Node is something like, it's like an internal table. You can store the records, collection of records in single node, similar to internal table. But attribute is like a variable. So the point here is every controller has these options, whether it is component controller or interface controller, custom controller, window controller, view controller. Every controller has these options. So now, here every controller has these options. So for screen designing, in WebdynPro what we do is for screen designing, we make use of views concept. There's nothing but for screen designing. And in web technology, we call it as web pages. So what SAP has done is, SAP has provided some options here. Some 50 options are provided. So those options are nothing but like input field. These are all used for screen designing, and you can use something like checkboxes, and you can use something like drop downs. You can use like radio buttons, and you can also use tables. Then you can use forms, and you can also use like graphs. So similarly, we are going to use some concepts like roadmap, then panels, then containers. So there will be several options like this. So we are going to understand all 50 different options available in WebdynPro. So all these things will be useful for screen designing, in simple words. So this is one thing. And moreover, for message handling, we are going to use a concept like 2 concepts. One is message class, and we can also make use of assistance class. I'll explain the differences in the coming examples, but both can be used. Message class, assistance class is used for handling messages in WebdynPro. And then, not only messages, in WebdynPro we have one more option like service call. Service call. So what this will do is, it will help you to use function module, and you can use RFC, and you can use BAPI. So these type of things you can use in WebdynPro directly with this option, service call. That's also one of the option. That's also one of the option. And moreover, we can also make use of something like models concept. So the purpose of models in WebdynPro is to handle database operations. And you can also handle other logic also. Along with database operations, you can handle some other important functionalities inside the model. And moreover, we are going to make use of something like windows. Like we have something like pop-up windows, and we have some external windows, and we have confirmation windows. So there are several types of windows. We are going to use them in our programming. And then we are going to handle two important things in WebdynPro. So whatever I am discussing here, all these are part of one single component. So all these things, whatever I discussed just in the last 10 minutes, all these things are part of a single component. If you open second component, you will get the same options. If you open third component, you will get same options. So these are the common options under every component. And here there is one more option like context mapping. So this context mapping is a very important concept. So what we try to do is, in WebdynPro, we try to transfer data from context to context. From one context, you can transfer the data from one context to another context. So this is taken care by context mapping. It's a relationship. So this type of context mapping is only used for data transfer purpose. So there's a functionality of mapping. And moreover, we are going to make use of like context binding also. Something like context data, if you want to transfer to view. View is nothing but screen. So if you want to transfer data between context to view, then we make use of context binding. But ultimately the purpose is same, data transfer. Data transfer is the main functionality, whether it is mapping or binding, but relationship is different. Context to context is mapping. Context to view is context binding. But both will do the same job, that is data transfer. So these are the very important points, mappings and bindings. Then here, inside WebdynPro, we have a concept like component usages. Component usages means you can use one component inside another component. One component inside another component also you can use. So when I explain that concept, we are going to understand the component usages. That is one of the options we have in our WebdynPro. Okay, so this is what I explained theoretically on the first class. And whatever the options I am explaining, all these options comes under one single component. Just remember that. And I want to give some more clarity. So in our WebdynPro, we use a node concept. This is for storing collection of records. So don't forget that. And we use attributes. This is for storage of individual values. So I mean to say node is nothing but it's like internal table. You can compare like that, but it is not exactly internal table. It has similar feature, but concept is different. You can assume node as internal table, but not exactly similar. Not exactly same, but they look like similar. So attribute is like a variable. So you can store some values through program. So that's the main purpose of an attribute here. And moreover, I can say, here you can see there is a controller. 5 types of controllers are available, but every controller contains context, and controller also contains coding part. Controller also has a coding part, every controller. You can have that option as well. Every controller has that particular coding part. So with this particular diagram, I can say the meaning of a controller now. So let us understand that. So every controller has 2 options mainly. Is controller. Controller is nothing but it is equal to your coding part plus you can have context. Context is nothing but storage purpose, because we store data in nodes and attributes. So a controller is nothing but it's for coding part as well as for storage part. So coding is nothing but we call it as implementation, and here storage will take place in the form of context with respect to nodes and attributes. We store the data like this. So that's a complete meaning of a controller. So these features are common for each and every controller, coding and context. So this is common functionality of each and every controller. But when I discuss examples, I'll tell you what are the differences between each and every controller. I'm telling you the similarities of a controller now, but in the examples we'll go with differences. So these are the similarities which is applicable for every controller. And moreover, WebdynPro is nothing but, I said, it's like a web technology. It's a web-based access. And that is nothing but we call it as a browser-based access. And you can also call it as like internet access. So whatever it may be, so all refers to same meaning. All refers to same meaning. And moreover, I can say WebdynPros can be applicable on SD. You can use MM. You can also use finance, controlling, HR, CRM, SRM, as well as SCM. So on all SAP modules, you can use WebdynPro. So WebdynPro is not specific to a module. It is generic to all the modules. In real time, you can apply the same WebdynPro concepts everywhere. And then I can say there is a browser access. WebdynPro means browser access. So you can use any type of browser. All browsers are supported. All browsers are supported to run WebdynPro applications. You can also remember this point. Okay, so let me interrupt you. Hi students, are you able to follow my explanation?
Yeah, fine, sir.
Is my explanation clear to you? You have any doubts now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine, sir.
So controller commander also MVC architecture. So it is
Yes, yes.
somewhere related to MVC.
Yes, so I'll start MVC architecture in the examples. When I discuss with the example, you'll get clarity about MVC.
Okay.
Okay, but controller is part of MVC.
Okay.
I'll take separate session to explain MVC practically, don't worry.
Okay.
doubts you have, others? Are you able to follow?
Not. Yeah.
Santosh Pandey, are you able to follow? Santosh.
Yes.
Okay, fine. So, okay, whatever we have discussed theoretically, let me show the practical part of that one. What exactly is controller, where context is available, where node is available. So, let me explain that with a system. Okay, just let me continue. So, I'm trying to log on. In our examples, we are going to use SAP ECC 6.0 with EHP5. You can use 4 or 5. Almost all the things are same. Only few differences are applicable that I'll tell you when I go for examples. What are the differences? But in our course, we are going to use this version. This is almost like latest server with latest version. So let me log on to that server. So throughout our course, we are going to use all these concepts. WebdynPro. Okay, let me cover what exactly we are going to discuss in our syllabus. So in our syllabus, we are going to use WebdynPro with SE80T code, and we are going to use floor plan manager. We are going to use floor plan manager with SE80, and there is one more tool like ACT. And for Adobe Forms, we are going to make use of okay. So for Adobe Forms, we are going to use SFP. That's a form builder. There's a T code. And we are going to use like POWL concept. For POWL, we use several T codes like POWL query, POWL type, POWL query R, POWL type R, and FBB underscore maintain underscore hide. So these are the T codes we use for POWL. They are very simple, don't worry, but these are the T codes. And we are going to use BRF. It's a very new concept and it's very simple also. So it's BRF you can use, that is one of the T code. And there is one more alternate T code, that is BRF plus. And then, so these are the T codes. And object oriented, let me tell you this one, I forgot to tell you. So object oriented basics plus how to apply object oriented in WebdynPro and how to apply object oriented in object oriented app, basics, object oriented with WebdynPro, and object oriented with ALV. So all these things we are going to use with these T codes like SC38 mainly, and for global classes we use SC24. So these are the T codes we use. These are the main T codes. When we go for examples, there may be some simple T codes that may come into picture, but these are the main things. So this is part of our syllabus, and moreover, we are going to use, like, at the end I am going to explain the complex and real-time scenarios. Complex and real-time scenarios I will be explaining at the end after completing these concepts. So that is our total syllabus. Okay, whatever I have discussed theoretically, let me highlight those points. here. Let me cover this particular part. This part I want to cover just on the screen with practical part. So I'm going to SEIT, there's a T code. So in this T code you can see WebdynPro is one of the new option added here. WebdynPro component, this is one of the new option added. So you can create something like a component. You can give some name. And when you press enter, it will ask you to create this component. So I'm just trying to select S option. And here, I want to make use of one window. Window is like a box. Window is like a box that we call it as a frame. And your view, window internally contains a view that is your actual screen. Window is a frame, view is a screen, and these are default options that will be available when you create components. And remaining options I'll be discussing in the examples. So when you save it, you try to save it in a package. For transportation, it's better you save it in package in real time. And you can see left hand side there is a window, view, interface controller, component controller, and you can also create several other controllers like custom controller. You can see that. Okay, let me just create one simple custom controller here. So there's a custom controller. So left hand side it is updated now. You can see that. Okay, let us come one by one. You can see there is a component controller. When you double click, you can see there is a context. One controller contains only one context. But in context, you can create some nodes and attributes. This is a point I was highlighting theoretically. And not only this, a controller also contains methods for implementing the code. If you want to write some functionality, you can write the code here under methods. So let us go to another controller, interface controller. You can double click here, and interface controller also contains a context. So in this context, you can create nodes and attributes again, and you can also implement some functionalities under methods. That means you can write the logic coding inside methods. And let me open custom controller. So custom controller also has a context here. You can see that in custom controller also you can create nodes and attributes. And for implementing coding, you can go to methods. There are some standard methods. You can create custom methods. You can write some coding. So that we'll understand practically. But I mean to say a context is available along with methods. Both are available. And not only that, you can see there is a window. And window also contains one context here. So in window context, that means window controller. You can see window context is nothing but window controller context. Both are same. Remember that. So in window context, you can also create nodes and attributes if required. And if you want to write some piece of code, you can write under methods. So if you want to write the code, you can also go to methods and you can implement some, you can use standard methods, we can write custom methods that we are going to understand in the examples. But every controller contains context and methods. And for screen designing, I was talking about view. So if you double click view, you'll get several options here. It will load some options. So it is taking some time to load these things. So, but every view contains one layout along with context. You can see this. This view context is nothing but this one. View controller context, both are same. Window controller context is same. View controller context and view context both are same technically. You can see this is nothing but view controller context. You can create nodes and attributes here also. You can create nodes and attributes. And not only that, in view context, after creating nodes attributes, you can also implement some coding. You can implement coding in methods, actions also. Methods and actions we are going to explain, we are going to understand in the examples, but coding part is also done in view level through methods and actions. And then you can see there are several other options, like I was talking about this view for screen designing. You have some 50 options. So let me show those options here at view level. Here you can see when you double click, you can see there are several options here. Something like label, input field, text view, button, links, and you can see drop down boxes, check boxes, list boxes, radio buttons. Similarly, you can also see date navigator, roadmap, table, tree. All these are screen elements. We try to use these things for screen designing. And you can see something like there is a message area, invisible element, tab strip also is available, containers, trace. These are all different options for screen designing. And you will find graphics also here along with images, progress indicators. Then you can see file upload, download, interactive form. When I discuss Adobe Forms, we are going to understand this interactive form. But file handling is also done through file download and file upload functionalities. So in simple words, I want to say all these are the different options available for screen designing. That is nothing but view designing. And the same options, whatever I'm showing here, the same options you'll get when you right click here. When you right click here, you'll get same options. Insert element, you'll get same options here also. All 50 different options you'll get. And when you use anything, you'll get properties right side. There are several properties for every element. You'll get properties here. And moreover, I was talking about this one, right? So this is what I was talking about. All 50 options you can find for screen designing. And you can see there is a service call. This option we try to use when we use function modules, BAPIs and RFCs. That is nothing but this one. When you right click, you'll get that option here, service call. This concept we are going to use. And not only that, here you can see Here you can see context mapping. So context mapping is nothing but, here you can see from right side context. From right side context, you can transfer data to left side context here. When you drag drop from right to left, that is nothing but context mapping. I'll explain with practical example, but let me tell you here, context to context. So when you transfer data, we use mapping. And binding I'll show practically because we can't directly see here. So whatever the data available in context, you can display here on your screen. Context data you can display on screen through context binding. And here, context to context, right side to left side, you can transfer the data through context mapping, this one. Okay, let me interrupt you. So, hi students, are you able to follow? Are you getting some clarity now?
Yes, yes, much.
You want me to go a bit slow or this is okay?
Okay, sir.
No, this much is okay.
Especially those who are attending today's first class. So, are you clear with these concepts? Okay, you have any doubts in this particular theory part?
Not now, sir.
No, as of everything is fine.
Is everything fine? You don't have any single
Yes,
doubt?
sir.
Yeah.
Not even single doubt? So I mean to say this particular diagram, at least this particular things should be clear before we proceed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This particular
Yes, sir.
diagram.
Yes, sir.
What about other students? Other students are able to follow?
Yeah, sir.
Other students. Okay, if you have any doubts, you can also send me a mail. Every day, if you have any doubts, you can also send me a mail, vijay.javasap@gmail.com. You can send your queries to this also if you have any doubts after completing the session.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So day by day, you'll get more and more clarity. You need not worry by looking at the theory part. When we do it practically,
Okay.
you'll get more and more clarity.
So basically, WebdynPro, how much part is related to the coding part and how much part is related to the UI?
UI part, WebdynPro is totally UI part.
So
UI
there
means
is not much coding part.
coding part is there. Coding part is always there. Here,
I mean to say 80% is UI and 20% is text.
no, the coding part is available. What happens is common functionalities. For common functionalities, there is a wizard. Code wizard will write the code. For specific functionalities, if the requirement is not matching with the common functionality, then for specific functionalities, we are going to write the code.
Okay.
So we are going to write the code for specific functionality. That means developer code.
Sir, is it like a replacement for module pool and but just we can run through on internet?
Yes, it is
I mean,
totally
like
a
WebdynPro can be
replacement.
defined like that?
It's a replacement and alternative for WebdynPro. It's a replacement and alternative for module pool applications and ABAP reports also.
Oh, normal reports, okay.
Normal reports also you can design in WebdynPro.
Okay.
And
But
with
one
less
thing
coding.
is, I mean, yeah, one more doubt, like these users, this A leader, these kind of stuff, these are not related to WebdynPro, right?
ALE iDocs, they are not related to screening part, right? They are totally different.
Yeah. Okay. It's not like we can replace the entire ABAP with WebDynPro.
No, not
like
entire
that,
ABAP. Only module pools, normal module pool, and ABAP reports, smart forms. These three functionalities can be replaced with WebdynPro.
Okay.
So ALV programming we can use in WebdynPro.
Yes. ALV is part of our WebdynPro. That will be discussed.
Okay, so all forms is like interactive ALV and classical
Yes.
ALV, interactive and
Yes,
other.
normal reports, interactive ALV, everything will be available in WebdynPro also. But functionalities wise, slightly we have to write different coding.
Okay.
Coding different रहेगा, लेकिन functionality output will be same.
Okay.
Others still you can ask me some questions.
Hello.
Hello, yeah.
Yes, sir. So I'm Sunil speaking. So actually, I want to know that a window is like a frame or a box.
Window is a
You told
box. That box is nothing but like
box
frame. Yeah.
frame. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So yesterday you created na sale forms in view.
Yes.
Yes, sir. So if we want to create another form,
Yes.
so we will create in a view.
You have to create entire screen designing will take place in view only.
Okay.
But window will be loaded by view is loaded by window.
Okay.
So I'm writing on the notepad. Total screen
Hello.
designing is done in view level. Got the point. But view is loaded by window. Did you understand now?
Yeah.
So the different forms will be created in a view.
Yes, you can create different forms. You can also create same form many times. There is no restriction.
Okay. Sir, so only one view will be created or a different view will be created?
No, we are going to create several views. With one view, you can't complete the requirement. One view is like one simple screen. But with one screen, how can you complete the total functionality? So we are going to use multiple views. We use multiple views. We can also use multiple windows. Those things also comes into picture. Here you have an option. When you right click, you'll get that option. View, window, everything.
Okay.
You can create several views, several windows with this option.
So sir, how we maintain the structure between views?
What do you mean by structure? In your
How,
example.
so suppose we created one sale form
Okay.
and another form.
Okay.
So we created two view.
So
So
you
how
can
we
create.
interlink?
You can create two different nodes here.
Okay.
One node you can use it for one form. Another node you can use it for second form.
Okay.
Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. I'll show practically. Then this doubt will be clarified very clearly. So new students, still you have any doubts, or new students especially, tell me you want me to go slow or if this is okay, or anything you can ask.
This is okay for me, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, this is fine. Yeah, this is fine.
Okay, so I'll stop. Yes. I'll stop today's session now, and tomorrow at 9 o'clock we'll start again.
Okay.
Sir, this is Shankar here from Mumbai.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Sir, actually I want, sir Shankar here.
Yes.
Sir, actually I want you can, if you start session at sharp 9 o'clock, that's very good for me because it will become late to me to reach my home because
Okay,
it's
tomorrow.
long from here.
Yeah. The
Mumbai.
point here is here many people are joining the same session, so there is some problem in joining many people at a time. So they are joining one by one slowly. So I'm waiting for them.
Because as I told you, sir, I'm in office till now.
Yeah. I got your problem. So tomorrow onwards we'll sharp exactly at 9 o'clock.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm closing the session. Thank you everyone.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir.
Ranjit
Hello?
here.
Yeah, who is he?
So like Ranjit here, sir.
Yeah, okay, Ranjit, tell me.
So like I'm having some configuration issue with my SAP, sir.
Okay,
Could you please help
what's
me
the
with
problem?
that? Like I'm able to create the views and all, and I'm able to activate it.
Okay.
But when I test it, it's giving me a dump.
Can you show me that screenshot?
So I'll mail it to you, sir.
Okay, so just send a mail to me, so I'll give some solution to that.
Yes, definitely, sir. By
Yeah,
tomorrow I'll send it to you, sir.
mostly the problem might be with your configuration for WebdynPro. There are some special settings to be made. If they are not made, then you'll get that common error, domain error.
Yes, actually I'm getting a web GUI which is working. Like I have to log on to that. After logging on, it gives me a dump.
Yes, I got the point. So that means your server might not be configured actually. Okay, let me send. You
sir.
just send me the screenshot. I'll try to tell you.
Okay, sir. I'll send it to you, sir, tomorrow, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.